Does size matter? It's a question that has haunted humanity since existence and left the world divided. Some say it's the connection that matters more. Some say it's skill. But after a lot of research, I finally had a breakthrough. And the answer is no. Size does not matter. What matters is where you're looking. The same size will cost you 80,000 rupees in Mumbai, 37,500 in Delhi, and 21,000 in Bangalore. The size 1 square foot. But that's not big enough. Globally, a country's real estate prices are considered healthy if the citizen has to pay around 5 years of their annual income on their home. In Mumbai, that number is 14. That's close to your 30 years of life saving. And that too just to buy a modest house. Mumbai is the city of dreams. If your dream is to never buy a home. But how did we get here? Why are houses in India so damn unaffordable? Let's uncover. In India's top 8 cities, the total demand for houses was 40 lakhs. Against that, the supply only 10 lakhs. There are two main reasons for the supply being this low. First, chumma city planning by our government. No one can deny that India has world-class infrastructure. Big swimming pool for relaxation? Check. 1 hour TV time before work? Check. Massage in public travel? Check. Mountain views near cities? Check. Gazab city planning that uses the limited land that we have available in the best possible way horizontally and vertically? Check. To understand this PhD level planning of Indian cities, let's compare it with Tokyo. Packed city, crazy dense, has vending machine for eggs but still works. Why? Because their entire urban planning is done by one entity at city level, Tokyo Metropolitan Government. And they have Dragon Ball Z level power. The TMG first plans, then funds and executes urban planning, and then are ultimately held responsible for it also. You want subways, public parks, roads, utilities. Now India, totally different show. Urban planning comes under multiple urban local bodies at city level. But the real power to allocate resources, to give money to plans, to give land for development and approval for projects is with the state government. So basically, urban local bodies can't really fund or approve any of their plans, but are held responsible for city planning. And on the other hand, the ones who actually do have power have no responsibility for it. Where can I apply for this job? Now, Tokyo knows what it wants. They have 40-year-old long plans which are broken down into smaller 5-year plans. But on the other hand, India, well, firstly, only 28% of Indian cities have some kind of approved plans, and their implementation, well, don't even ask me. It's slower than how time passes when we're doing a plan. In 2017, Delhi authorities signed an MOU for a shiny new Master Plan 2041. It was supposed to run from 2021 to 2041. And guess what year we are in right now? And guess what's happened? 8 years and nothing. And I thought my ex of 3 years who didn't give me a ring scammed me. But, we need to give credit where it's due. Urban local bodies are doing a wonderful job at making plans. Every small function like sanitation, transportation, affordable housing, public utility comes under a different body. Take for example, Mumbai. Metro is handled by 3 bodies, MMRCL, MMRDA and MMOPL. Affordable housing is handled by MHADA. Roads, drainage, local services are managed by BMC. Overall city planning is done by the state government. Think of it as a WhatsApp group with too many admins and zero coordination. So what has happened is in Mumbai, trains and metros don't have proper housing around them and houses don't have proper travel connectivity. Whereas sanitation, water supply, medical access, roads are all Bhagwan Bharose based on luck. So yeah, urban local bodies are doing a great job at making plans. Not only Mumbai, this mess of coordination and delay in implementing planning has led to our metros not having strong public infrastructure to handle a large population. Well, no shit, Sherlock. And as a result, we are wasting space vertically. Because we can build 100-floor buildings with SRK photos on it if we wanted to. The technology is not the problem. The problem is that if we have so many people in such small area, our roads, hospitals, sanitation won't be able to handle it. In a city, how tall buildings can be made is determined by this metric called FSI or Floor Space Index, and it's set by the government. In Mumbai, the FSI is just 1.3, whereas in Tokyo, it's up to 20, and in New York, it's up to 15, mainly because of this strong public infrastructure. And this low FSI actually makes our land more expensive. According to experts, even if there is a moderate increase in Mumbai's FSI from 1.3 to 3, then the prices of land could reduce by 30 to 40%. Okay, but horizontally, so we must have done things right. Right? We all know, remember Delhi? Poor urban planning, plans kept getting delayed. So in the meantime, several illegal colonies came up in an unplanned manner. So basically, जहाँ प्लान करके 7-8 फैमिलियाँ रह सकती थी, उसी लैंड पे अब सिर्फ एक फैमिली रह रही है. Further restricting supply and increasing the prices. But wait, there is a happy ending. After these colonies were built, a few years later, they were made legal. Guess when? Right before the election. To get votes. Planning? No. Politics? The result? 50% of urban India lives in slums. And the other 50% who dared to buy a house are just in a lifelong relationship with their EMIs. Romantic stuff, huh? You, your bank, and monthly trauma for 30 years. How cute, actually. My longest relationship was just 3 years. But makes you think, no? Why? Urban planning, such an important job, was never given any real power. 2 words. Builder, lobby. In most other countries, the government says, this is the area, this is the plan, you builders follow it and finish it on time. Simple, efficient, and boring. But here in India, things are way more fun. Big builders, politicians, legacy surnames, they play monopoly with our cities. City development happens on the side. Oh, number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Convert affordable housing to build luxury homes. Price, bribe the officer. Your turn. Oh, number 3. Get forest land to build mall. Price, donate to election. Seems fair. And you do realize, right, that poor urban planning is not a bug. It's actually a feature for the rich to influence the government and get land allocations for themselves. It's not by chance that less than 10 families reportedly control 20% of Mumbai's land. And around 500 families hold half of the city's real estate. And the best part, there is no deadline to actually develop these lands and make houses. So they release it slowly, like it's some season 2 of a very expensive web series. Why rush and make houses when you can keep artificial scarcity and the prices will go sky high? But in the limited supply that's being built, the houses are being made for you and me only, right? No, silly. Where's the money in that? These developers, they're working for their own profits and not for the city's development. Hence, whatever limited supply is being released, they are making projects with the highest margins, which are luxury buildings for HNIs, NRIs, and basically anyone whose bank balance looks like a phone number. So on one hand, millions can't afford a home and affordable housing supply has gone down by 60% in Mumbai. But on the other hand, 1.1 crore homes stay vacant in India. And that's because these homes were not bought to be lived in, but they were bought as an investment by some rich guy to diversify their portfolio into real estate. So my parting question to you all, tell me what's a bigger scam, A or B? A, to buy a 2 crore home in India, first you need to earn 3.25 crore and pay 1.25 crore income tax on it. Then while buying a home, you pay 12 lakh stamp duty, 10 lakh GST and 2 lakh registration charges to the government. And for all these taxes that you're paying, you get world-class cities to live in India. Or B, when Lays says that they give 15% extra on their chips.